And in the end, what they decided basically was that it was like a mass hysteria thing, right? Like, yeah. It was prompted. There was an original.
There it goes again.
There it goes again.
Welcome to this week's Read This Next with Laura.
Hi.
And Nicole, and we are both in the same building today, but she is upstairs and I am downstairs because we're social distancing. So this week, as you already might know, we are talking about everything witchy. I don't think your books included wizards as much.
No, witch, hard witch, no wizards.
Okay, the one I have has a wizard in it, but there's lots of magical elements, so we'll get there. But to start off today, I think we wanted to film a separate video where we go, here's who we are, but we're just gonna do, hey, here's a fun fact about us today. So Laura, when did you start working at the library, and what position were you in?
Wow, I started back in the bygone era of 2010. I grew up in Thunder Bay, and I think probably Brody and Mary J were my libraries growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And I went away and did school and did library school, and then came back and was lucky enough to get hired as the Children's and Teen Services librarian here. Started at Brody, so it's like old stomping grounds, and been here ever since in a variety of different positions. But children's and teens, close to my heart always.
Oh yeah, I remember. I started the same year as a page, and I was also in Yak that same year.
Yes. That's our volunteer, like our teen volunteer program is the Youth Advisory Council, and Nicole was in my very first one. You were a tiny tot.
Just a little baby.
You were a little baby with lots of hair, I remember.
Yeah, I had long hair.
And then you abruptly cut it all off.
Just like this time.
I remember. That's what I remember of you a long time ago.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, I started in 2010 as Paige at Waverly, and worked my way up, and now I'm a technician, and I do a lot of teen programming too. We got a lot of similarities for what we like to work on and what we do work on.
We do. That's why we can work so well together here.
Yeah. Let's move right into our highlights.
Okay.
Do you want to start?
Sure. Okay, so I actually went off and got off the shelves A Discovery of Witches.
Woohoo!
I know we have here. We have as a hard copy, obviously, in the collection. I haven't yet checked if it's in Cloud Library, but
I think I checked
hard copy. So you can put a hold on it and sign it out, take it home after you hear how exciting it is for me today. So it's a first book in a series. It's by Deborah Harkness. I believe this was her debut.
I think so.
So this is the description of it. Deep in the stacks of Oxford's, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Bodleian Library, young scholar Diana Bishop unwittingly calls up a bewitched alchemical manuscript in the course of her research. It's happened to all of us.
Yes, I know. Same here. University is a troubling time.
Yes. Descended from an old and distinguished line of witches, Diana wants nothing to do with sorcery. So after a furtive glance and a few notes, can't help herself, right? She banishes the book to the stacks. But her discovery sets a fantastical underworld stirring, and a horde of demons, witches, and vampires soon descends upon the library. Diana has stumbled upon a coveted treasure lost for centuries, and she is the only creature who can break its spell.
Ooh, I like that they called
it her. You like that they what?
They called her a creature at the end. They didn't specify. It was just like,
It doesn't have to be a human who will break the spell, just a creature.
That sounds good.
So it's been very, really took off, well-reviewed, best-selling. It has been adapted into a television show, I believe, but don't know that the show's much as good as the book. Recommend start with the book there.
Yeah, I've heard that. I don't remember what the TV show was called. I think it was called something different.
I do not know.
We'll figure it out after. I like
put it in the notes.
Yeah, I like books that take place in libraries. huge nerd. And it's funny because our next highlight also takes place in the library.
Libraries and witches, they just go
It's
together.
perfect. They read books. We all do. Okay, our next one is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. She's amazing. It's a YA book. I read this one and I loved it, and it set me off on a tailspin of like finding amazing fantasy books that are like just great. It's basically this girl, her name is Elizabeth, and she grew up in a library. So there's like basically
A dream.
it is. It's my dream. Yeah, absolutely. But the world that they live in, the libraries like house grimoires, and the grimoires are alive. So they have to be taken care of very well, because if someone like rips a page or something, they'll turn into like physical manifestations of how dark their book is. Kind of, that's kind of the vibe I get. So like someone's tampering with the books in order to like gain control of the country or whatever, and Elizabeth is the only one who like kind of figures it out, and she's destroyed one of the books that turned into the monster thing. Yeah, and then she meets the sorcerer Nathaniel Thorn and his demonic servant, and it's really great. And like a little bit of romance, a lot of magic, and a lot of libraries. I'll just read you the last one. As her alliance with Nathaniel grows stronger, Elizabeth starts to question everything she's been taught about sorcerers, about the libraries she loves, and even about herself. For Elizabeth has power she never guessed, and a future she could have never imagined.
It's a standalone, is it?
It is.
Or is it a... Yeah.
She's written 2 standalone ones. Something about, I think, An Enchantment of Ravens was her first one, and this is her second one, but they're both standalones, which like makes me cry because I want them to be more, but they're super good. Highly recommend. I think it's on both Cloud Library, and it's definitely in our branch because that's where I borrowed it from. So check it out. It's unbelievable.
That's a rave review. Yeah, that is a rave review. Hugely rave review. Okay. Those are our highlights, our witchy highlights. Should we jump to our witchy personal recs?
Yeah. Did you want to go first or me?
I can go first.
Please do.
This is another book that I actually went and got the physical book off the shelf.
Wow, I like the cover.
Right? Oh, look at this creepiness. What could this be about?
Is that like stitching or clothespins on a clothesline?
Stitching.
Oh.
Stitching. So the book is called Hex. It's by Thomas Oldevalt, and it is actually in translation from Dutch.
Oh.
So it's sort of an interesting story of this. It is an interesting story, but the story of this book is a little bit interesting because it was originally published in Holland, and then I'm not sure if like the publishers approached him, but when he went to release an English version, he moved the location. So instead of it taking place in the Netherlands, it now takes place in a small town in the States somewhere. So he changed that, and so he changed some names, and he changed other stuff as he changed the location, and he changed the ending.
Oh, I don't know if I like that.
Right? So it's kind of like, I read this one, obviously, and so I then afterwards was like, detective work time, and went online and tried to find a summary of the Dutch ending so that I could compare the two. And I think they're both interesting in different ways. I didn't feel like I was missing anything in this version at all.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, sort of interesting though that he felt the need to.
He George Lucas'd it.
Yeah, he recontextualized it.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah.
I meant with the changed ending.
Right.
She's like, and it doesn't exist anymore.
So unlike the ones we talked about earlier, which were really, I'd categorize more as like supernatural and fantasy, this one is straight up horror. It is, yes, it is dark, it is scary, gruesome on occasion, frightening. So if that's not your bag, don't pick this up. You will not enjoy it at all. If you do like horror, or you're like, even if you like go in sometimes for thriller suspense, then this might work for you. You could always skip over any parts that you find particularly
Too scary.
yucky. Yeah, scary. You kind of skim through. Yeah, so that's sort of my, my warning first. So what the book is actually about, I think it's a very interesting idea, because it kind of it takes the idea of like the town witch, which is not really unusual at all. Like, oh, there's a cursed witch, and then maybe the townspeople burn her at the stake, and now she haunts the town or whatever. Like, that's not a new idea. But in this particular book, in this particular town, the witch has stayed to the present day. Yes, she appears, her ghost, her spirit, as a phantom. She doesn't have mass. You can put your hand through her if you wanted to, but people don't, because she's scary and disturbing. She's got because what she appears is as after she was killed. So it's like her dead with her mouth sewn shut and her eyes sewn shut. That's what's with the stitches.
Ooh, no.
Okay. And she just like, you could like be in your kitchen making dinner, and you turn around and there she is, and you're like, again.
That's my worst nightmare.
But they're kind of used to it in a weird way, because that's the way it's always been. And you can't leave town. If you leave town, of course, you're compelled to return. So if you're born there, that you're just stuck. And they have like, the townspeople are so used to it, they've developed basically a social media app, so they can track where she's appearing in town. So it's like, oh, put it in. She just turned up again in the basement.
That sounds so like, this sounds like a very confusing book to me. Like, the tone, like, it's very grim, but then they also have an app.
Yes. So it's this interesting like smash up between what you like, this sort of typical scary things, and then also almost what you think of as more modern ideas and technology. Like, there's this great bit at the beginning where like the husband comes home for a run, and he starts to kiss his wife, and the wife is like, oh, grandma's in the kitchen again. And he turns and looks, and his wife has put like a tea towel over her head, so they don't have to look at her.
Wait, you said she doesn't have mask, but they can put a tea towel?
I was wrong. They did put a tea towel over her.
So maybe
I guess she does. Or she hung it in front of them.
Yeah, she just...
They did something so they didn't have to look at her. Yeah, so when the book starts, that's kind of the status quo. But the young people in this town are starting to be like, this is the worst. We want to leave and have a life and, hang out with other young people and whatnot. And so they start breaking some of the rules that have been set up basically for everyone's safety, so that even though you live in this terrible town that's haunted by a gruesome witch, you still get to live your life. Well, now they're going to upset that status quo, and things are going to go poorly. I'm just going to spoil that for you right now. If you hoped maybe things would turn out okay, no
happy ending.
I would say no.
Oh,
I mean, it's a spoiler, but it's a horror book, right? Like, it's a dark horror. It's not, I'm not saying it's a terrible ending for everybody. The world does not explode. This is not a precursor to a dystopia. But a lot of things happen that there's not really any coming back from. So,
ooh, like, here's a problem. I want to read it, but I think I'll be scared.
It's pretty scary.
Okay, I gotta write that one off. We might have to talk offline so you can tell me what happens with it, so I don't have to read it.
I think if you've read Stephen King books,
too scary.
Okay. I was gonna say, honestly, it's probably on par with a lot of the darker Stephen King's, and most of his stuff is dark. So what am I even saying? But if you're comfortable with that, this would probably be fine for you.
There you go. A good recommendation for a creepy witch book.
A creepy witch book. Horror. I don't know that we've done much horror at all, Rex, before. So there's
we should do one. Well, maybe not. I don't like reading it. I won't be able to help.
You could do like light horror, and I could do intense horror.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We'll put that on the list of things we want to talk about.
Okay, because I've read a lot of dark horror. So there we go.
Okay. Mine is not a dark witch horror. I think it just moved my screen.
You did a little, but you're okay.
Mine was not scary. It's called The Bear and Nightingale by Catherine Arden.
Beautiful cover.
Absolutely. This is the third one in the series, and look at how pretty that one is.
That is also very nice.
Right? Okay. So I just read this one over the weekend because I've already used my other witch ones in previous videos. I was going to talk about Uprooted, but again, I already talked about that one. And if you liked Uprooted, the Baron Nightingale, because it takes place in Russia in the wilderness, and it's this family, and this baby is being born, and she's gonna be like her grandmother, who was kind of like the witch lady of their like little village. And as she gets older, she like hangs out in the woods more often, and she's kind of like talking to creatures that no one else can see.
One of
And
those creepy children. Sure.
yeah, but as she gets older, she like learns that not everybody else can like see these things. So she's like, should probably keep that on the DL. What else happens in it? Oh yeah, okay. So it's this guy. I can't remember. It was a Russian word. I think he's like a priest, and he comes to town, and they're all very heavily believe in like pagan rituals. So like there's I'm gonna not pronounce this right, but there's a domovoi, and he lives in their hearth, and he protects their hearth, and sometimes he'll like do knitting for them, and he like makes it so their wood doesn't burn as fast and stuff.
Sounds handy.
Yeah, and they like you leave out offerings for him and stuff, so like he can gain strength from them, and there's like one in each household. But when this guy comes to town and starts like being like, you need to forget about these creatures, they're demons and everything, the like bad stuff starts happening in the town. And they're like, oh, my wood's burning so quickly, our crops are failing, our horses are angry, because each of these things has like a little creature with them. So as these bad things build and build and build, so does her like magic and stuff. And it's really cool how it all goes together, because it's essentially there's one big bad that's coming back, and because all these creatures are being weakened, he's able to build up his strength, and she has to like take him down. But the allies that she finds are unexpected and awesome. So I really liked it. Again, so much folklore behind it, and so much like already built history in it. It was really good. And now there's 2 more books. I'm going to read those this week.
Is it a trilogy? Is that it?
Yeah, it's called the Winter Night Trilogy. So it's the Baron Nightingale. The last one is the Waking of the Witch, and I don't remember the second one.
That's okay.
Yeah,
I'll list them. I'll list them in the notes.
Yeah, I think it says, it's The Girl in the Tower.
The Girl in the Tower. Okay.
Yeah, and we have all 3 on both Cloud Library and in the Branch.
So there you go. Whichever you prefer.
Yeah, really good.
Either way. Yeah. I don't remember if I said, but if I didn't, unsurprisingly, Hex does not have a sequel.
No. I mean, if it has a bad ending, like you said, how do you write a sequel?
Yeah, I hope that's not a huge spoiler for people, but like, you heard how it started. Did you think it was going to end well?
You know what? Spoiler culture is interesting, because it's just like Shakespeare. He was just like, hey, these 2 people, they're going to fall in love, then they're going to die. And everyone's like, oh my God, but how does it happen?
That's right.
That's the best part.
How do things play out? Oh boy, sorry for that.
It sounded like thunder.
It was not. That was a loud book cart.
At least it wasn't
Traveling
the book cart.
By the door. Yes, those are even worse. Okay, and then I have one other really quick rec, because it's witches, but it's sort of like a side way to look at it. So it's 2 books because they fit together really well. They're both inspired by the same real life happening.
Cool.
So I think in like the early 2000s, there was a group of youngish high schoolers and a town in the States who all started exhibiting the same like weird Tourette-like symptoms. And I think one fell into a coma, and then there was just these strange things happening. And then there was all sorts of like, is it environmental? Is there something in the air? They, tried to blame some vaccine, and then, big surprise, it had nothing to do with that. And in the end, what they decided basically was that it was like a mass hysteria thing, right? Like Yeah. It was prompted. There was an original.
There goes again.
There goes again. There was something that actually happened to one girl, like an actual physical thing, and then everyone else just kind of like fed off of it, and it built up bigger and bigger. So two different authors took that and like this idea of like strange things happening, unexplained things happening to high schoolers, and kind of looking at that as a supernatural, like, have they been cursed sort of reasoning. So there's the first one is called Conversion, and it's young adult, and it's from the perspective of the girls that it is happening to, and like they don't understand why they're doing these things or what it happens or why it's happening, and they just, you know, like just for extra oomph, she made it set in Salem, Massachusetts, right? So in
Classic.
yes, so there's that, and then I just think it's so interesting to read them together. There's a book called The Fever by Megan Abbott, and it is about the same sort of thing, only it's not set in Salem, but the same thing, a group of high school girls, different strange behaviors, only it's from the perspective of the parents in the community.
Oh.
Because she's an adult author.
Oh, that's interesting. So the first one is a YA.
Yes. First one is YA, second is adult. And there's really interesting like stuff about like the power of young girls and kind of a little bit of like hysteria about like young girls' sexuality and what it means, you know, that they have this sexual freedom. How is it affecting them? Right? Well, that's what people used to think. Yes. So it's they're just an interesting. They were really interesting to read together. Yeah, if you have an interest in sort of, they're not thrillers, but they're sort of suspense because you're not entirely sure how things are going to play out, how everything's going to come together. So that's my other sort of a little bit offside. Cursed high school girls start behaving in strange ways.
Love it. I don't know how we would fit that one in otherwise, so that's perfect.
I know. They're strange little duo, but I read those together years ago, and whenever I tell someone to read one of them now, I'm like, and then you have to read the other one.
Pick one, then choose the other one.
Then the other one. Yeah.
I love that. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention quickly, we do have a witches readers advisory list for YA books. I think it's on the website. If it's not, I'll post it like today.
I believe it is.
And it's also in our binders. So yeah, very exciting.
One day when you can come into the branch, you can check it out in the binder. Until then, find it on the website.
I think it's tvpl.ca/teensread.
It is.
Go check it out. So what do we want our topic for next week to be?
I don't know. We've kind of, we did some, this is kind of a deepish genre specific dive. Mm-hmm. We could mix it up and do like cozy mysteries or something. That's something totally different.
Sure.
Yeah. Cozy mysteries. That's a sort of genre of mysteries where a lot of the time they're set sort of like in a small village, and then maybe the titles have puns in them. And maybe,
yes. Yeah, I know.
There's lots of cats.
Yep.
There might be cats and knitting, things like that.
I love it. It's usually like where the older lady in the neighborhood is like the detective, and she's just like cruising the streets trying to find out what's happening.
Right. There was that whole series, like the cat who whatever.
Oh yeah.
The cat who swallowed a canary. The cat who. Those are cozy mysteries. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna.
Yeah. Totally
I'm excited. I don't
read tons of those.
Me neither.
You've never read one? So there you go.
Whatever one I read.
Popular.
Oh, good. Whatever one I read this weekend will have to be my rec.
So we need to make sure you get a good one.
Yes.
I will help you find one.
Thank you.
That suits your needs.
So next week, cozy mysteries. And we will. Do we have anything else to add?
I think just the reminder that you can go onto our website and you can sign up to request a book bundle for adults. Mm-hmm. You just enter your name and then you can check off what you're interested in, and we will pull 3 books for you from the shelf and give you a call when they're ready, and then you can come pick them up.
Yeah.
So if you're not sure what to place your hold on, then let us do it for you.
Yeah, we'll do
Yeah.
all the work. You're clearly very good at it. We make requests every week.
We do. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's all that I'd want to share.
Okay, then I think that's it.
Okay.
We will see everyone
Next week.
same time, same place. Talk to you then.
Bye.
Bye.